Today I'm going to start some experiments that I've been wanting to do for a while. I have here 4 versions of the same or similar knife. I have basically 4 Spyderco Delicas in 4 different steels. One of them has to be a bird because I want to test 8CR13MOV, and this is the only way I know how to get it. So here's what I have. These knives are all brand new. Never cut anything. I have not opened them. These knives are all mint condition, and we're going to do some testing. So we have the bird Meadowlark 8CR13MOV. Delicas VG10. Delicas S30V. Delicas K390. So all of these knives are brand new. Factory edges, haven't cut anything. So again, the bird Meadowlark is basically a Spyderco Delica. The main difference is in the handle. I think the blades are, as far as I can tell, totally identical. As near as I can tell, they're the same grind, same thickness, same overall shape. They both have the downward pointing tip. So we're gonna run some tests to compare these different steels and see what happens. So what I'm going to do to start is to check each edge and make sure that they are sharp and that they are able to perform the test. So for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to be cutting some rope and cardboard. I'll be using basically about this portion of the blade. I'm not going to tape anything off or anything. These knives are all the same, so my technique should be pretty similar for them. So I'm going to be cutting 1/4 inch rope and soda box cardboard. I'll run each knife until the knife fails to cut this catalog paper reliably. At that point, I will note how many cuts the knives did on rope and cardboard, and then I will check them on a type of notebook paper, not this one, similar to that. Check it on a type of notebook paper. If they're able to cut the notebook paper, the test will continue on 1/2 inch rope until the knife cannot reliably cut the notebook paper. So this should measure the front end sharp part of the knife. So first I'm gonna check the edges and just see kind of where they're at. I'll give them a score on my scale of 1 to 5 sharpness. 5 basically means it can cleanly and easily shave arm hair. And after I do that, I will also do a best check and see what these starting knives are at for a starting best score. So the bird is very sharp. Mostly just interested in this top part. This thing is shaving like crazy. Extremely, extremely sharp. This thing is a freaking very, very sharp. So I give my starting score for the 8CR is a hard 5. VG10. This thing has a really wide bevel on it. So obviously all of these Delicas are sharpened from Seki City. Look at the bevel on that thing. The other one is made in China. I don't know what angle these are at. Spyderco usually does them around 17 degrees. But we'll see. I'm just going to test these factory edges. We'll dial this in more later. This thing is also very sharp, maybe slightly less sharp than the 8CR. also give him a strong 5. 5 out of 5. S30V. Just checking to see if they have any major burrs, dings, dents, scratches. This is very sharp. Wow. Yeah, definitely shaving at least as good as the others. Hard 5 out of 5 on him. K390. I have purchased many K390 knives from Spyderco. They frequently come slightly less sharp than other knives, and they frequently come with a burr. This one does have a burr on the show side here. Super aggressive edge. Feels like there's little dings in it all the way around. So this knife was slightly less sharp than the others, kind of between shaving and scraping arm hair, so I would give it a starting score of 4.5. It did have that burr, did have that damage to it as well. Normally I would put this on the sharp maker and just try to knock that burr off. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to test these knives exactly how they are out of the box with the factory edges that Spyderco gave us. So, because I'm testing this top part, I'm going to have to put the knife in the fulcrum kind of backwards. .8CR starting score 92. VG10. Starting score for VG10 108. Sorry, I screwed that up. Starting score for S30V was 109. I failed to film it because I'm an idiot, but that's what it got, 109. K390. Starting score for K390 is 174. For all the testing that I do comparing these 4 knives, I will do everything as similarly and comparable as possible, using same material as much as possible. Use caution making comparisons with this test with other edge retention testing I've done previously. I'm using a different rope today than I used on previous occasions. It's still a 1/4 inch rope, but I had to use a different brand, so some of the results today may not be perfectly comparable with other edge retention testing I've done, but within these 4 knives, they should be very similar as much as possible. Going to be cutting this 1/4 inch rope. Going to be making equal cuts on the 1/4 inch rope and what I call soda box cardboard. I'll be checking the sharpness along the way. I'm not reviewing these knives at all in terms of anything, so I'll probably wear gloves because I'm going to get in a hurry and sometimes I'm in danger of poking my finger, so I'll probably wear some gloves. 8CR is not known to be a great steel. Since 8CR is regarded as a low-end steel, I did cycles of 25, giving it the chance to fail the test or give out earlier. I've turned the camera around because I want to show where we are at. I don't know what it looks like on the time lapse. It's probably pretty hard to see, so I just want to show where we're at. This edge is clearly dulling, but there's no damage. There's no major burr or rolling. It's way past scraping arm hair. I want to show where we're at here. It's getting rough, it's getting loud. As soon as I get to this part where we're doing all the cutting, it gets louder, but it's still cutting this paper. this test is still going. So I'll do a cycle from this angle just because you're here. A couple of those swipes went off to the side early and gave me a little tiny shred. When that happens, I just do an extra cut. So if you counted that and saw that I was off, that's the reason why sometimes I do extra cuts if it's a bad cut or whatever. Okay, let's see where we're at again. This edge is still very stable. Like, this is clearly dulling. This is way less dangerous to me this way. Jeez, this thing just won't stop. Stand by, I need to get more paper. I'll try this one. It's getting rough. It's still cutting through though. We're going to continue. Gotta be kidding me. I'm even going slow. I can't stop it. It's still going. That was a tear. Okay, we're calling it there. Good gosh, can't believe it. If I can cut this notebook paper, the test will continue on 1/2 inch rope and soda box cardboard. Definitely not. Cycles of 50. So these cuts are very, very rough and stopping. Stop, 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 stop. I'm gonna call it there. VG10. See if VG10 can cut this notebook paper and move on to 1/2 inch rope. No way. Think I might have missed some of the footage from the last couple sets. We'll see. I don't know if my thing's about ready to run out of memory or what, but this thing's getting close to being done. Let's see where we're at. No, I think we gotta call it there. See if it'll do the notebook paper. No. S30V is done. Just in case I lost some of that footage from my thing, this probably doesn't carry any weight, but here's my notes. VG10 cycles of 50 equaled 600. S30V cycles of 50. 51, 52, 53, 54, 400. Gonna see where this K390 is. A better piece of paper for that. I'm gonna call it there. It's just tearing it. Okay, let's see where these knives are at now that they've done the test. So this is a little tricky because the knives will take damage as they're doing the test, and if it's catching up on the paper here, there's no way I can get that exact spot on this tiny width of filament. There's just no way I can guarantee I'm gonna snag the dullest spot on the best, but this is what we can do, so I'll do the best I can. So I'm gonna do the K390 first, just because this edge was clearly inadequate out of the box. So we'll just do him first, because his results are gonna be kind of weird. .186, 8CR13. 206, VG10, .255, S30V, .259. So K390 did the worst with 150 cuts. It was also significantly duller than the others to start and had that bad edge with the burr from the factory. So we'll take that one out of the mix for now. Next to last was S30V with 400 cuts. It went from 109 to 259 on the best tester. Then was VG10 at 600 cuts. It went from 108 to 255 on the best tester. In first place was 8CR13 with 700 cuts. It went from 92 to 206 on the best tester. Now it was the sharpest one to start, so maybe that's why. Who knows? So just some final thoughts on this test. Again, factory edges are what they are. I like testing them because you only get one chance at it, and I like to be able to use a factory edge if I can. So to me, this is an interesting data point. Take it for what it's worth. You might think it's totally useless. Maybe there's some information to be had here, maybe there's not, I don't know. But K390, it's almost uncomparable in this result today because its edge was so bad. Normally I would not have even tested this. I would have cleaned the edge up first, but I wanted to run it the way it was, just to be fair. Shame on Spyderco for giving us a bad edge on that one, and that is typically what I see with K390, and in my opinion, it's actually quite disappointing, but that's probably a conversation for another video. So we'll take him out of the mix for now. So that leaves us with these. One of the most interesting results, well, the most interesting result to me is that 8CR outperformed everything. And I have tested 8CR quite a bit. I have found it to do very well in my previous testing. So that is an interesting point. When we look at cost, these knives are about $35. These ones are probably about $100. And these ones are probably about $120. Those are ballpark estimates, but the point is that this knife costs a third as much as the next most expensive one. It's kind of interesting to think about, isn't it? Obviously, there are other attributes with these steels besides just edge retention. There is stainlessness and how the edges sharpen up and what kind of a sharp edge they take. There's a lot of things to consider when you factor in price, but it was interesting to me that these knives were so very similar. So out of the box, their sharpness was only one best point away from each other, and they were within 4 grams of each other at the end. So these were very, very similar to each other, which I thought was quite interesting. Anyway, that's what I have for the test today. I will be doing more testing with these knives. So I will resharpen them and do some more testing, and we'll see what comes. Please let me know your thoughts, and we may discuss this further as this testing goes on and continues further down the road. To be continued. Thanks for watching.